How are you?
I'm good. Glad you dropped by.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Is anyone else here?
No, it's just us for now.
Okay,
I'll be
okay,
honest, I wasn't expecting anyone to come. I sent that email pretty last minute.
okay. Yeah, I've been busy the last 2 weeks, so I haven't been able to update.
Oh, you haven't made some of the last ones?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Um, I don't know. Like, what have you covered so far? Do you want to like learn more or hear about stuff?
Yeah. Actually, that'll be cool. Um, yeah. We were talking kind of about Q-trits.
Q-trits.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Was that Tommy talking to you about that?
Yep. I think Tommy told me about that.
Nice. I mean, my knowledge on Q-trits is pretty limited. Like, what do you want to know more about them? Just in general, what they are, like how they work?
Oh yeah. So I think another thing I've been looking into is let me think. Why don't we use a hydrogen atom for? Why don't we ever use a hydrogen atom for for qubits?
Um, I mean, I think you could. So Q-trit just requires a three-level system.
Yeah, there's also
And
they have multi-level systems too, and then you can and there are like entire research papers that construct say um a sample Hadamard gate for a qubit or for a qubit.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool. To be honest, I haven't come across this too much, just because like companies are pretty. It's so expensive to get started in these research. So once they pick a qubit design to go with, they just kind of stick with it for a while. But that by no means is that it's like a required version or like a requirement that it has to be a certain type. Like there's at least six different competing qubit designs right now. No one's even
Six competing
started trying
compute.
to make Q-trits.
Oh, six competing qubit designs.
Wait, sorry, say that one more
Wait,
time.
you're actually saying six competing qubit designs?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ones. Like off the top of my head, well, so IBM's mainly using the trapped.
Sycamore.
Are they trapped ion? No, they're not trapped ion. They're
Oh,
transom
trapped ion. Then there's
ion.
superconducting.
Yeah, ion Q is trapped ions. IBM is transom, which is like they leave an oscillating well, and then they're able to like bounce it between oscillations, and that's how they alter their like radio frequency pulses to do the gates. So I know the most about the IBM one just because I'm working with them right now. Um, but yeah, like IonQ is doing that. There's a lot of photonic ones. People are pretty interested in that, especially because it works with networking.
Oh, photonic.
But
Superconducting photonic.
say again.
There's also superconducting photonic.
Yeah, there's a bunch of superconducting types too. I mean, so transom is superconducting. Um, I believe trapped ion is superconducting too because they need to get it to. I mean, that's the only way they could reduce the noise enough. Wait, sorry, I need to get a laptop charger. I totally forgot. Well,
Where
like
are you, by
2%.
the way?
I'm in San Diego right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just got here over the weekend. I've been kind of traveling, so sorry. Let me grab what's going here. Cool. Um, there we go. Cool. Sorry about that. Yeah, so there's a couple different types. I'd say the most popular right now are trapped ion and transom. So if you, I don't know what you've been able to read about those so far, but those are like the big ones. IBM is transom. I'll see if I can send you a link. Here's that archive paper that describes a bunch. I'll pop in the chat.
Okay.
So these are all superconducting. They kind of give a brief explanation of different types. Um, it's definitely not an easy paper. It's pretty long and very dense.
Overview papers aren't that dense.
I'm sorry?
It's actually an overview paper, so it's not as dense as many others.
True, it's not as dense. There's no nice pictures though.
Yeah.
Yeah, in like section 3, they go over the small cell and data processing on the current ones. I think they're more talking about NISC error and error correction. They don't
Okay.
actually give it anthem design. But yeah, there's a lot of different kinds. I haven't actually seen much about Q-trit designs, so I'd be interested in seeing that.
Wow. Oh yeah, so aren't there like so you can have a qubit in like the 1 or 0 qubit, but you can also have plus, minus, and up and down qubits.
Yeah, so that just depends on how they're being mapped and like what two-level system you're using for mapping. So like the transom is technically up down because I think it's working with spin.
Hmm.
But to be honest, I'm not too sure. Tommy's the physics side. I come from the CS side.
Oh, you
So
come
to
from the CS
me,
side.
sorry.
Oh, you come from the CS side.
Yeah, so I come from the CS side of quantum computing. So my physics is significantly more limited than my CS knowledge of it. But I don't know. I'm learning more. It's the like all the people that understand it, you know, like top physicists struggle to explain it. They're like not good at explaining anything to do with this to people that haven't had like years of quantum mechanics experience. It is rough to say the least.
Have you read Scott Aronson?
Scott Aronson,
Yeah.
doesn't he? No, I haven't.
He
Where's
has
he
a
from?
wonderful blog about quantum computing. He's actually a quantum computing theorist.
Oh, what's his book? Actually, I might have.
Yeah, he has a blog called Sheetal Optimized.
Quantum computing and applied approach. That one,
Hmm.
or is he? You know, he did quantum computing since Democritus.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. No, I haven't read that one. I've got I've got Nielsen and Chang next to me. Big
Oh, and
fan of that.
Nielsen.
That's definitely like I don't know, in my opinion, the top book in the field to get started with, because it goes from like the absolute basics and like covers everything you need to know up until like 2005. So, what's your experience so far then?
I've taken some physics courses like quantum, but I actually don't think physics is necessarily my strength.
Right. So, what do you study?
My strength is actually more on the biology slash biochemistry side, so I'm actually like more interested in say how quantum computing can be used for say protein design for modeling proteins or
Oh no way! You should talk to. I connected some people from UC Davis that run the quantum computing
oh,
club
I know
there,
the
and they're
club.
also very
Samar, you
interested.
know Samar Sandeep.
Yeah, Samarth, do you know him?
Yeah, yeah. I'm friends
How
with
do you
him.
know him?
I think I don't know. He's part of a certain friend group, so either I or he randomly friended each other.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, Samarth is exactly the person I was talking about.
Oh, he had the
So I
presentation.
connected with him. He joined the QCC, which is the group I started with um, Alex. I don't know if you've come across him, Sanchez de la Garcia. He's a PhD or a grad student
With
for the Quantum Computing Collaborative Group.
it's
But
with Preenhan Narang.
we're looking to do a protein folding project. If you'd be interested in working on something like that,
Oh, I'm interested. I'm curious.
I'm curious too. I haven't actually spoken to Samarth in like a month and a half
Uh
because I
huh.
just got really busy. But I think everyone got busy, so I don't feel too bad about that.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely like maybe over Thanksgiving break when everyone has some time, it'd be a good point for us to like just reconnect and see. Let me add you to the QCC. Do you use Slack?
Yeah, I use class Slack.
Okay, cool. Can I
QCC
add you
is
to
like
this
all
group
the
and then maybe we
universities,
could?
right?
I'm sorry.
Is QCC like all the universities?
Yeah, so QCC is the group which is Harvard, MIT, EPFL, and UC Davis at the moment.
What about Waterloo?
Just which one am I?
No, oh, there's also Waterloo's missing
Waterloo. Yeah, we haven't actually added Waterloo,
because
but
I,
we
I I
should.
saw
That'd
on
be good.
Twitter
Actually,
that what? Oh, yeah, I saw on
I
Twitter
have a
that
friend
they
who's actually at Waterloo right now. Corbin. I could ask him.
yeah. Yeah, I started Twitter say that they have the best quantum computing club website they've seen, basically.
Really? Yeah,
Yeah.
my website is not very good. Should probably update that.
Yeah,
I
UC
hate doing
Davis has
web.
a pretty good presence.
We're probably one of the worst presence wise. But
Yeah,
I want to do better. It's just no one else is
has an
like able
interest.
to commit time. Yeah, it's just like the interest just isn't there. So
Is it because
call me
of the
like a
quarantine?
bit. Quarantine didn't has not helped us. We were just starting up, and then quarantine just meant that no one could really like meet each other, and we can't see like get to know faces because it's a new person every week.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like I'm trying to like meet as many people as I can. Okay, let me add you to this, just so
Okay.
at least like you can see the other people in the group. It's
Okay.
super small right now, but if you're interested, if not, you could always leave.
Okay.
No
Okay.
worries. What's your college email?
Um, just do this.
Cool. Okay. All right. So I invited you to it.
Okay. Cool.
Like literally nothing's happened besides us doing our quantum finance talk, but maybe our next one should be quantum bio because there's a lot of interest in that.
Oh, quantum finance.
That's what we. So we already did that, and it was like pretty successful. But I think we want to keep moving forward and do like another talk and a project. That's my goal. Talking a project. It's just hard to get people on board. Everyone's very slow because everyone's like doing real research too. So this is like a double side project.
Oh, okay.
But it depends. If you're have time and you want to work on it, I will match you 100%. So
Okay.
what you do bio right now?
And that's the direction I'm more interested in. Yeah. Yeah. Like
Okay.
biochemistry. Or I'm also like actually my main topic of interest is say a biochemistry of aging.
So wait, sorry, that
Oh, my
I just
main
nodded, but
topic
I
of
totally
interest
didn't
is
hear
actually
that.
like biochemistry of aging.
Of aging.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Have you taken any scrub classes yet?
I know some of the scrub courses like Amy Wager's course, though that's kind of at a low level course, but yeah, the scrub course I like what I'm really interested in.
I took this course called Scrub. I think it was 110 or 180. I think
Okay.
180. It was a like plasticity and regeneration in the mammalian brain, and it was all like I'm a neuroscience joint, so
Oh,
it
you're
was
a
all about
neuroscience
like
joint. Holy
regenerate.
shit. That's like the perfect course I'm so interested in. Yeah,
Yeah,
neuroplasticity.
it was so cool. Like
Do
the
you have notes
professor
on
was
it?
amazing. I'm sorry.
Do you have notes from that?
Probably actually, yeah. I could find them. I mean, I don't take great notes, but I can
Okay.
send you what I have if
Okay,
you
or
want.
do the class have class notes?
No, it's not like that. It's like a grad student class,
So,
partially. It's
research
open to
papers?
undergrads. I took it without any prereqs. I just thought it was cool.
Oh, that's the best way
And
to
like
take a course, for sure.
yeah, no prereqs, just show up, figure it out as you go. Yeah, I learned a lot. It was really cool and I liked the professor. He didn't like me too much, but I liked the professor.
Were there any proteins they discussed, like ARC or BDNF?
Um, they mainly discuss a lot of the like signaling pathways and like signpost proteins. So they discuss uh, a lot of like growth factors that are important and that could
IGF-1,
cause.
BDNF, CAMP.
I don't recognize any of those. I mean, I haven't. I took this course like 2, 3 years ago,
Okay,
but
Relin.
let me. I can get my notes up.
Oh, W&T.
Yeah, wind signaling was a big pathway.
Hippo.
Um, and what else? There was wind. There was like G something if P pathway. Here I go. All notes.
GPCRs.
Um, not there. On Evernote. Yeah, that was a super awesome class. Highly recommend it. We just read a ton of papers, and then you do a blue sky project at the end. So like my project, my partner and I decided to like use capacitive um, touch sensors to do neuron sensing and have that like inserted into the spine as a way of like circumventing a like a laceration that was causing degeneration.
Wait, for laceration or degeneration?
So like once you cut like a cortical neuron, it immediately starts to like retract and stop growing because it doesn't have the growth factors necessary to stay alive. And then you get your like oligodendrocytes also start not decomposing but just like degenerating. So if you immediately fix the laceration and like line everything back up again, you could get it to grow back and the oligodendrocytes might like replenish. You could be okay. But normally what you do is you need to remove all the glial cells that are in the way. So you just like put in a bunch of anti-inflammatories, like way more than you probably need. That would like remove the astrocytes that would like start growing immediately at the laceration site, and that could save the neurons. But once they start degenerating, and this is like one of the really strange things, cortical motor neurons just will not regenerate whatsoever. Peripheral ones will totally grow back, no problem, but cortical ones will not, which is a really strange point, and that's why this whole lab has been like spending maybe 30 years mapping every single signaling pathway to try and figure out how we can reverse engineer it and force them to grow.
Which lab is it?
This is it's right next to the Bauer lab. I forget the name of it. It's the professor that teaches Scrub 180.
Oh, okay.
What's his name?
Why don't you think he liked you very much?
Why didn't he like me?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I think he just thought I was like young and inexperienced.
You were like the outsider of the course.
Kind of. I mean, I showed up with no prereqs, not studying. Like I was a computer science major. Everyone else was regenerative bio majors and PhD students. So unsurprisingly, I wasn't his biggest fan. But I did everything correct. I don't know, just not much you could do there. The Mackless lab, Jeffrey Mackless.
Oh, I know him. I
I
know
really
him.
like him.
Yeah, I know of him.
Yeah, he's a character. He's a character.
How so?
I really respected him. Just it was not a mutual respect,
Okay,
but that's all
okay.
right. You can't win everything. I always take classes that I'm probably too inexperienced to take, but they're too interesting to pass up.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best way to have growth. Wait, so do you know Molly Woodworth?
No, who's that?
Oh, she's someone who was in his lab and who taught his course.
No, I didn't come across him, Molly. I think his postdocs at the time were two guys. Can't remember their names. Google. I'm trying to find these notes. I can't remember where I put them. I'm not very consistent with my notes.
Oh,
Probably
holy
not.
shit.
Yes, 70. What? Oh, I took them on. So have you taken any quantum computing classes yet? Like
Not
ES one
quantum computing
seventy?
specifically yet, no.
Okay, you should take. I took 170 and it was excellent and relatively easy.
Okay, physics
As physics
170.
course. 170 is by Pri Narang.
Oh yeah, that's one. Yeah, oh by her, I see. Oh
Yeah,
ES
when I took
170,
it,
engineering quantum
more
mechanics.
straightforward. That's definitely more on the physics side,
Mm-hmm.
but I got by with it. Limped through to the finish, definitely. Okay, so I only have a couple electronic notes, but I can send those over to you if you want.
Okay, yes, that'll be wonderful.
Otherwise, my rests were uh, all on paper, and that my books are in England.
Mm-hmm. Your books are in England.
Yeah, well, I mean that's where my home is.
Oh, okay, I see.
I'm just traveling at the moment. I
Do you
took the
know?
semester off.
Do you know Andrew Zuckerman?
Yeah, no, I know the document.
Okay.
Why?
Oh, I'm good friends with him. Just and he's like,
Oh, cool.
yeah. Let me think. Is there really any fundamental difference between a 0 plus 1 and a 0 minus 1 qubit? Like, if you measure them, they might kind of return the same results, just only when you compare them with each other.
So you're saying a 0 plus 1 and a zero. Oh, so the only difference is like a phase difference between them, and you're asking like what's the difference when you measure? Yeah, so when you measure, they both collapse to the computational basis in the same way, but the difference is you can get constructive or deconstructive interference if you put two of those qubits together. Does that make sense?
I mean, is it like a phasor relationship you can map?
Yeah, I mean it's like a direct phase. So the phase of the complex number, if you like pop into Euler's formula and you get like each of the I phi, that phi of the complex number is also the same phi of the phase difference between, say, like you had two waves and they were out of phase, like two sine waves out of phase. It'd be the exact same phi, which is really cool and convenient. It's the reason why qubits are constructed with a complex xy plane. But you have your 0 plus 1 and 0 minus 1. And if you measure both of those qubits, you'll get the same result. But if you were to add those two qubits together and then measure, you'd have the phase difference would be like a pi difference, which would cancel each other out.
And what about like it, uh, I and then minus I qubit?
An I and a minus I qubit. Uh, so when you say I and minus I, what do you mean here?
So on the qubit plane, there's a zero. There's a zero at the top and then one at the bottom, and
Yeah,
then it's a plane is marked by what is six axes.
yeah.
So there's
So the zero and the one at the top and bottom are the zero ket and the one ket,
yeah, zero one
but
one.
really those are a vector pointing that direction would be like 0 1 or 1 0 with no phase difference. So you got to remember that like it's not like an axis where like a unit circle, where you'd have as like one 1, 1, minus 1, minus 1.
Mm-hmm.
You can't think about it that way because this is um, in a complex Hilbert space. So it's not quite the same thing. So the zero ket is just representing like the zero state of the computational basis. And actually that's a vector pointing straight up versus a vector pointing straight down. So you need to like take a step back. You know the notation where you just see like 0 plus 0 ket plus 1 ket.
Yeah.
You need to take a step back and remember that those kets are vectors and that we're representing two vectors being added
Added.
or negated.
Uh-huh.
And it's like a shorthand thing, but actually those are complex kets. So those are complex vectors, and you have 0 plus like 0 I, and like 1 plus 0 I, even though we just don't have like an imaginary component of each of these. So I mean, okay, where am I going with this? I'm just trying to say like think about it in terms of vectors, and it gets a little more clear because then you could see like you have two vectors like this, and we're moving it from going straight up onto the plane, and this is the imaginary plane. Exactly. So if you can have a vector pointing straight up, so it's 0. You trying to think about it right
Yeah.
now?
0, 1, 0, and then I, or this is like
Yeah, yeah,
I
that would be
minus
I.
I.
Mm-hmm. And remember these kets, so like the vectors that you draw with like a 0, 1 on the top. What that's saying is the top one is the probability. Well, okay, let's get this correct. If you square it and take uh, you don't need to take the conjugate. Just the square of it will give you the probabilities of finding uh, your vector or your qubit in that state. So the reason you have 0, 1 is saying that that's pointing straight down 0, 1, and there's a 0 probability of finding it in the 0 state and a 1 probability of finding it in the 1 state. So suddenly when you go to the side, even though you have a complex number, once you square it, because you're not taking the conjugate at this point, but during measurement you will be taking the conjugate because you need to use the DAG of the measurement. Am I losing you, or you
Okay,
still getting me?
one. Yeah, there's 0, 1. There's 0, 1, I minus I, and no, there's 0, 1, I minus I, and minus plus.
Yes, correct. Uh, correct. Yeah, minus plus I minus I 0, 1. Yep, that's correct. Those are the sides of the block sphere. But this is like my personal thing. I think it's more confusing when people label it like that because that doesn't really help you relate those to how the vectors would look. Because if you think in your head like a one vector, like the one ket that's pointing straight down, you couldn't easily just figure out that that's like a 0, 1 vector. Likewise, if you're on the xy plane and you want to point in the um, imaginary direction, so you have a full phase of pi, it's not too obvious that a full phase of pi is going to be like a 0.727, 0.727 plus, like I, 1 I. So I'd say, do you have like Jupyter notebooks?
Um. Okay. I'm traveling, so I'm on a laptop right now that doesn't have that hasn't had it installed.
Okay. I wonder if I could pull it up here.
Okay.
And then maybe I'll be able to share a screen.
Could you also like have a qubit that's like has a z value of √3/2 that spins √3/2, then spins around an xy plane with a z value of √3/2?
A z value of √3/2 that's spinning around the xy plane. Yeah, I think that's just you're applying a z gate the whole time. So let's say,
Oh yeah, that's playing z gate
I,
all the time.
yeah. So I'm gonna make a. Let
So
me
it's
share
also
this.
like you can have one spin, you can have a qubit spin over the xz plane and over the xy plane.
When you're saying spinning, what do you mean by
Oh,
spinning?
not spinning. I mean rotating.
Yeah, you can rotate it along any plane. That's just like what each of the different gates are doing. So the base gates are, oh, wrong block, are just giving you a pi rotation along any of those gates.
Oh yeah, pi rotation. So can you do like a pi rotation around to z around? So you can have a pi rotation. You can have a pi clockwise rotation even when it's at one. At even when it's pointing down at one, and then you can have a pi rotation and count.
Yeah,
You can have a minus pi rotation when it's also pointing down. In which
exactly.
case
So let me show you this. I'm going to do
okay.
B. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Cool. Okay, hopefully this works. Oh, that's right. He gets mad if I do this, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Cool. Okay, so here we have a block sphere. I've initialized it in the basis, which just means it's initialized to the 0 ket.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe I could do make a new one, which is call it psi 2. And I'm going to make it equal to psi, but I'm going to apply a Hadamard. How do I do that? I think it's S naught, if I remember.
Yeah, Hadamard would make it like point along x here.
So this, I think we'll put it on in between the X and the Y plane. Let's see
Oh
if
yeah,
it
it's a
works.
45-degree angle, so it'll be.
There we go. So you see it's pointing along the
Or
X now.
no,
So we've
yeah.
rotated it pi by 2. Actually, what we've done is 2 rotations, but it just does it for us. So now it's pointing along the X. It's on the XY plane. And I believe I can now apply the phase gate, and that can show it rotating around the plane. So I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to make psi 3. And this is going to be equal to psi 2, but I'm going to apply a controlled Z, not controlled, just a Z gate. I think it's just sigma Z. Yep, so now we gave it a pi rotation. It spun around the XY plane.
Oh yeah.
You see, and that's direct pi, so it's going the other way around. I think I could do.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
sigma z, and then there's also like half sigma z in both
yeah,
directions.
so there's I think it's RY or RZ in this. I'm not sure. Let me see. This is a real test of my memorization of the syntax. I haven't used QTEP in a bit. So we're going to do psi 4, and it's equal to, I
There's
think it's
phi and psi.
phi and psi. What are you talking about?
Oh, I mean, you can rotate. There are three ways to rotate. There's a rotation around phi and there's a rotation around psi.
Are you saying the axis about which you could rotate?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think phi and psi, as far as I know, only refer to like the states as opposed to. I don't think I've seen axes labeled as phi and psi. Sometimes they
Or
show it as like
theta.
polar coordinates,
Yeah.
and you can get like theta and some of those in, and like I think they use theta and phi as like the go-to ones.
And
But
r. Yeah, r, theta, and psi.
exactly. So let's what we could do. I think I've already imported. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna make this. We'll rotate it this way, maybe here or here by pi by 2. So I'm gonna make our theta equal to p pi over 2. This might not work. I think it worked. Okay. Nope. What did I do wrong? Okay, I think RZ is not the correct thing. What is it? Q-tip gates. Oh, it is R. RX, RZ takes in a phi. Well, it should be correct. I'll initialize a new block sphere. Maybe that's it. So we have B2 creating a block sphere, and we want to create an initial. We'll go with phi. Have I used phi yet? No. Basis state. Then we want to apply a Hadamard. And we want to rotate it. Oh, that's what I did. I forgot to multiply it. Come on. Do you see a mistake I made?
Let me see. Phi, phi over 2.
Do this. I think this is okay. So, yeah, just a depreciation warning. Doesn't like my controlled Z gate. Interesting. I'm definitely multiplying our controlled Z by a basis. What happens if I just do sigma? No. Crazy. That totally worked earlier. Oh. Found it. Never mind. Okay. So I think that's good. We have phi 2 on there. Let me also add phi. So we've taken our initial ket. It was pointing straight up. We rotated it by Hadamard, so it's along the x-axis. And then we gave it a pi by 2 rotation, I guess counterclockwise, so now it's along the y-axis.
Mm-hmm.
So does that kind of answer your question? We have our controlled Z rotation here by any theta we want. And this is actually how you encode a lot of information. So you change this theta, and you can encode whatever you want into our qubit. So we could do like an RZ, and then we could do an RX. Here's a cool thing. So I'm going to make a new one, except I'm going to give it a phase while it's still pointing straight up. So before we give an S naught. And we'll just give it a sigma Z phase. Cool. So we're giving it a sigma Z phase. We're adding this to the block sphere. Maybe I should make a new block. And actually, let's make 2. That'll be fun. So one with pi out of phase, the other with no out of phase. That's correct.
You can like also apply an opposite phase Hadamard. Like,
True. I want to try and do this without the Hadamard, so we can give a phase while it's still pointing in the 0 direction to show that you can have phase even though measurement is totally the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just messed this up. Yeah, here I messed it up. So we find psi. Those are both good. And there's newly defined. We have a block. Adding states. And b3.show. There we go. So there's two vectors here. They're both pointing straight up. But now, I believe, if we apply a Hadamard, we should see them pointing in different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Not 100% sure on this, if it's going to work in Qtip. I don't know if it can simulate that, but in theory, it should work. We'll see. So we want I2 and psi2 equal to S naught applied to the initial things, which were I, and S naught applied to psi. Interesting. They're both pointed the same way. What's the Hadamard doing? It's rotating along pi by 2 on x and pi by 2 on y. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd expect it to be in the minus x direction, right? Because they had opposite phase. Maybe I could rotate in the y plane to get them to split. Yeah, I'm not sure. Really thought Hadamard would do that. Maybe we can make a new one. Okay. Anyway, I think I've just carried on a lot. Do you have any other question I could do?
Oh yeah, So aren't there like kind of like gates where you can represent? So I was talking about how you can have like gates where it just spins or it just rotates around the axes.
Yeah. So you have there's three gates. You have the sigma x, sigma y, and sigma z.
Mm-hmm.
Each of these rotate by pi radians. Around axis.
Oh yeah.
Axis.
There's also like sigma x. There's also like half of sigma x too, or like 1/4 of sigma x.
Yeah, there's a bunch of ones. So there's sigma x, that's like the original Pauli matrix because those are the
the Pauli matrices.
But then you can just do Rx, Ry, and Rz, which is just controlled. So then you can put in whatever angle you want here.
Why do you call it controlled?
Good question. So that's a habit of me using Qiskit, IBM's software.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time you do like a C0 gate like this. And
that usually means multiple qubits.
Yeah, that's like you're controlling one qubit with the output of another one. And I'm also incorrectly using control to refer to this Rx will be moved by a defined amount. I think the official name is it's like a parameterized matrix, a parameterized rotation.
Mm-hmm.
This is the parameter. Yeah, that's how you spell it.
Yeah, the parameter.
So that's the parameter. Yeah, so technically these are parameterized rotations, but most of the time you'd want to do like a CRX because it's kind of useless just rotating stuff hard-coded. You want to be able to have them interact with each other. So, for example, like, do you know how to make a Bell state?
A Bell state? Oh, entangled. It's like an entangled Bell. A Bell state is like.
Yeah. So we could show in Qiskit if this imports. I could show you like the circuits and then how to make each of these.
Sure.
Didn't we go over this?
Yeah. I saw it on. It's easily accessible over on Wikipedia. I'll just have to look it up again.
Yeah, but we can just like quickly do it. So let's say we have like a QC, and also interrupt with any other questions too. Like, circuit. We have a quantum circuit, and I
Okay.
could. Oh, I need to initialize it correctly. 3 qubits. So cool. We're initialized with 3. Oh, this can go away. And let's say we wanted to add an additional gate before we draw it.
Okay.
So we can create, um, put a Hadamard on this. So Hadamard is, I think, just .h on this. We apply it to qubit 0. And then we also want to add in a controlled NOT gate on qubit controlled by 0 going to 1. Maybe it's not controlled CX. Yeah, okay. Cool. Let's reinitialize this. There we go. So this, at the moment, will create a Bell state.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the psi plus Bell state.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've qubit 0 is in a superposition of 0 and 1, and qubit 1 is now the opposite of whatever qubit 0 is. And if you wanted to do like you're saying, some of the parameterized gates right now, so we wanted to rotate qubit 0 by a certain amount before we apply the controlled NOT, then you could do that too.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you're curious about?
Okay, so it's like control NOT. It only rotate. It only like controls it when it's actually at 0.
Yeah,
So.
but the key thing to remember is, since qubit 0 hasn't been measured at the point of this control,
Mm-hmm.
All we've done is just take the initial vector, which is pointing straight up. It's now had a multiplied, so it's pointing out here. And we've made sure x is also on the xy plane, but it has the opposite phase. So it's pointing in the opposite direction. And that's like the key part, because the only difference between them is technically their phase. So the moment you measure it, that's what forces one to go up and one to go down. We just don't know which way they're going to go, but we know that it'll be opposite no matter what.
Oh, okay. Can you also have a controlled plus gate and a controlled minus gate?
Yeah, so remember, the plus and minus is like a physics convention based on what we're using to create our qubits. And once you get to the block sphere, you're just doing like x and y and z, which is why you see like that here we're just doing cx because we're doing a pi rotation around the x-axis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to do plus and minus, I believe plus and minus is mapped to the x-axis most of the time. So if you want to rotate between plus and minus, what you're really doing is rotating around the z-axis, because you're spinning that vector this way. So this is the xy plane, z is going up. You're using that as a pivot around which to measure, or around which to like alter our qubit.
Mm-hmm. Can you also like stabilize a qubit in any arbitrary direction or any arbitrary direction?
Yeah, you can. So there, remember, like, this is not actually what the qubit's happening. In real life, we just have like little particles sitting in a dish.
Yeah.
And this is all just abstracted away so we can get this three-dimensional Hilbert space to work with. But what we'd be doing is, it can be stable in any direction because you're just putting like two particles in a dish, and we're saying, okay, interact with each other.
Oh yeah, make two particles. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like spins. You know, you did biochemistry, electrons in boxes. You know, one has to be up, one has to be down. So that's where it gets enforced in the physical world, is that they cannot occupy the same spin, in their same, if their wave functions are overlapping by a certain amount. The way that's actually done across the qubits is super cool and way too complicated for me to understand. Like they do the RF pulse, and they have like these. I wonder if I can get a picture. Oh, I just misspelled that. But yeah, here we go. So each of the qubits are sitting in one of these things.
Oh,
And
holy crap.
yeah, and they send the radio frequency, and shoots down these resonator tubes at exactly the right resonating frequency to match the resonant frequency of the electron. And
Okay.
that overlaps their wave functions enough so that you can get these cool like entanglements between them. It's wild the way they do it.
And this is like 2 qubits.
So this here is a 4 qubit, I believe, four
Oh.
qubit. Each of these has 1 qubit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I believe so. I mean, does it have it? This is not just on Wikipedia, so it probably doesn't say it. If they can show a 5 qubit one anywhere, or like IBM. I think that is a picture of IBM's. Yeah, this is the one. So this is the 5 qubit design. And you can see they've annotated which ones are which.
Wow. So some
And
of them actually can interact with each other and some can't.
exactly. So that's a key part. If you look at like the IBM or this page, one of experience. Oh, wrong one. This one. I want this one. No. God damn it. This one. They give you different values for each of the qubits and like the interaction between them. So they'd say a qubit 0 to 1 has like a X probability of decohering within a couple microseconds.
Oh, yeah.
And because of that, that's how you know like, oh, this qubit has to go through 3 to get to transfer state from one to the other. So the swap gate has to be applied twice, and each swap gate is actually like 15 operations. So you know that if you have to swap between like qubit 1 or 2, that it's just not going to happen. So here you can see like their error rate between each of these.
Okay.
That's why they give it, because 0 cannot interact with 4, 4 cannot interact with 2 unless they go through it. So you never want to create something that has a gate between 0 and 4, because it's just totally going to lose its entire state between the two. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
These are all new. I haven't even tried them. This is 15. So you can see there are different topologies too, and different ones have better error rates than others, just based on manufacturing. We're really, it's a crazy time right now. These are the ones I've used the most, and they have pretty good interactions. I believe the old head of this club, for his final project in one of the classes, wrote an algorithm that optimizes which qubit to choose using like Jexter's algorithm, based
Oh,
on
wow.
error rates across each other. So even though you wrote your program saying, okay, I want 0 to 1 to happen like 1 gate and 2 to 3 to happen 4 gates, it would say actually you should start with 4 and go to 3, then 2. That way you minimize the amount of time spent on these like awful gates versus these better ones.
Why would
Like this
they be
will
so
have a better gate.
asymmetric error rates?
Uh, I don't know. It's just they're trying to make them as good as they can, but at least they can measure it and tell us which ones are better than others anyway.
Okay. And they
Like
have a
this one.
60 qubit gate, the Rigetti.
Yeah, Rigetti has a big one. I haven't used Rigetti stuff since I took ES170. I think they terminated their agreement with Harvard, which sucks.
Oh, okay. Dang, dang. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure on that, but initially they gave us like $5,000 worth of credits, and I think that's disappeared now.
Okay.
But we'll see. Yeah, these are all different. So if that helps, that's why 0 to 4 is a no go. Here's the diagram next to it. 0 to 4 you wouldn't want to do because you'd have to go through 2. And if the error rate between say 0 and 2 is awful, then you'd go 1 and then like 2 to 4, and you can see why this stuff gets hard quickly. This is a cool one. I don't think I've ever used this. No idea how they manufacture that either.
Hmm.
Absolutely no clue. But those are transom qubits and resonator pipes.
Can photons be used to get everything qubits too?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually a lot of photons were the original, and here we go, photon qubit. Um, these are awful diagrams. What company is using photons? They just got an award actually like a couple weeks ago, which is super impressive. But photons are big. They're especially used in quantum networking.
Hmm.
The show diagram of it. No, there's this device. There's a satellite that China made, and it's sitting above, and you shine a laser at it that's perfectly in phase with another laser being shown, and the satellite creates the qubit and the link between the two, and that's how they can get a quantum encryption between point A to point B using this photon literally beamed up to a satellite. It's pretty sick. I don't know if there's anything on. There was a YouTube video about it. I don't know if it's here. Um, yeah. Okay. If I find it, I'll send it to you. But
Okay.
yeah, could be super cool. There might be a project. I'm speaking to Alex about that. Depends on whether his lab has time to figure something out, but
Okay.
could be a project on that.
But both Einstein condensates.
Yeah. What about BCs?
Those are also like used for qubits.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think a lot of superconducting qubits don't use a single particle. They use a BEC because it's just like it has a much bigger wave function and it's easier to keep together and not decohere.
Oh, okay.
That's my short answer, but probably a better question for Tommy.
Okay. Is there a difference between fermionic and bosonic qubits?
Um, Probably. I don't know. I could look it up. I don't know off the top of my head at all.
Okay.
Um, you get a fermionic qubit.
Oh, fermionic.
Qubit mapping is interesting. Physics stack exchange, the baseline of most of my education.
Oh, no, yeah.
um, Anti-symmetrize, yeah, okay. Well, I guess you can, according to what the. I don't know. Looks like you can. Fermionic ones.
Okay.
Have you heard much about fermionic or bosonic qubits?
Um, I mean, like electrons are fermions.
Yeah.
Um, atoms. It depends. Well, like an atom, or like a particular they're like particular molecule. Particular atoms where you can have like the electron and the nucleus have opposite spins or the same spin.
I know they use the spin of um, certain like heavy nucleus. They just use the outer electron spin, and someone tried making a qubit out of that. Don't know how successful it was.
With the rubidium?
It might have been. That sounds about right. It was a heavier atom, and they used just the outer electron spin. But you need to keep the whole atom super cold, and I think that's harder to do than just an electron because you can't use um, Doppler cooling. Well, you can. You can use Doppler cooling with cesium, so I assume you could use it with those. But uh, yeah, I think it's harder to do with a larger molecule, a larger atom. I don't know how much you know about. I don't know that much about Doppler cooling, besides roughly how it works and why it's cool.
Well, it's like an electron and the nucleus and atom can both have different temperatures.
Uh, I don't know. That's a good question. I guess maybe, but I don't know. You're definitely asking questions outside of my realm here, but I'm sorry if I'm not giving you satisfying
Okay,
answers.
okay.
Look it up. No, no, easy answer to that. Oh, actually, wait. I think they totally can have a different temperature because once you get that down that small, the temperature is the same as the kinetic energy.
Yeah, oh,
And
kinetic energy.
so then an electron could definitely have a higher kinetic energy than the nucleus because it could be excited to like higher orbitals and then drop back down. So that would be the same as it being hotter and then cooling down. And
Okay.
all in that time, the nucleus could just remain the same temperature the whole time. So
Oh, okay.
I'd guess that yes, you can do that. It's cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so just like to step back from this, you're interested in doing like working on possible protein folding projects and um, like maybe something to do with this, but you don't have much experience on quantum computing yet or that much
Mhm.
physics, but you have a lot of bio experience.
But I have some physics experience, but it's like I know my skills in physics aren't necessarily the best. But I mean I can like I think I learned better through concrete examples, and I think physics textbooks tend to not necessarily lack in don't necessarily have concrete examples. So like if like given particular, I like find particular atoms more interesting as case studies that they're more interesting. So like concrete examples.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I mean, I'm much more of a practical learner as well. Like I like
Hmm.
building things and then seeing it. That's why I like using like the notebook and you could just draw the block sphere and do stuff to the states and
Oh yeah,
see.
notebooks. Yeah, and there's also this online interactive simulation that I found.
Yeah, that's awesome to do too. Okay, well that's cool. Maybe I'll email Samarth and see where they're up to with their IBM project. I can
Okay.
let them know I'm working for IBM too, which might help us out because they IBM was going to sponsor this um, protein folding project, which would be sweet.
Oh, nice.
Uh,
By the way, do you know? Have you ever heard of Jonathan Ward?
no.
He was a physics major here, but he works at Rigetti now. I think he graduated 2017.
Oh, so you think we should reach out to them and see if they'd be interesting
Yeah,
in
Jonathan Ward. Yeah,
yeah. Okay, I'll note that down.
I think he's not at Rigetti anymore though.
I'm sure he's still working in the field though.
Yeah.
Wait, okay, so Jonathan Ward, cool. Please stop sharing my screen. Awesome. Thanks for writing in the chat.
Hmm.
But yeah, okay. What else do you think we should do with this club to get more out of it?
So this is kind of interesting. So it's like I feel like there's not very much interest in it for whatever reason. I mean, do you reach out to Preenha about it?
Uh, like Professor Narang?
Yeah, yeah, in the range. You can like ask her to invite students to it.
Oh yeah, no, we do. Like we speak with her a lot about stuff because we all work with her. But yeah, it's just like I mean, I think it's partially because we're just not super organized with getting stuff out. But at the moment, like Tommy's plan is just to run info sessions and keep doing that. People want to get like they want to do something else, and since we don't have any like projects that we're working on or things like that, I think people just lose interest. What else? Like, what would you want to be doing on a weekly basis or like bi-weekly basis?
Um, so this is interesting. I think like interactive tutorials, like what UC Davis is doing, is like a good way to start. I know a lot of people they invite external speakers to come, but usually it then becomes super passive and not very active. But I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
you can. I mean, I think the best thing is to get collaboration with other institutions like Rigetti or like IBM to like and like give people some special privileged access to work with their software for a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, all of them give free access to all of their software as it is, which is pretty nice. So like, we don't even need to get that much more out of them. But it's hard to go to these companies if we don't have like we're just like, hey, can you come teach us for free? A lot of the time they're like, sure, we'll do that like once or twice, but they'd rather do it through the professor and not through the club.
Mm-hmm.
So that part's tough too. Um, we'll see.
Oh, so like do it to Professor Narang or something.
Well, so IBM normally does come and they do it through her class, but
Oh,
not through.
okay.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Well, I don't know. Hopefully, Tommy and I can get a time to meet, maybe with some of the grad students, and we can come up with like a better plan for next semester. This has been like very okay, and I just feel bad for everyone else. But yeah, okay, I got to run to another meeting in a
Okay.
bit, but it was. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
All right. Well, come next week
Okay,
or
sure.
whatever. All
Okay.
right, see you later,
See
man.
you.